Sorry, I was reading.
Good evening, race fans. Thank you for tuning in to DRL TV. My name is Getty Buckner. I'll be joined tonight by Martin Wenzel, as always. It'll be our pleasure to bring you live action of the DRL Cup Series here at Michigan International Speedway. This 2-mile track certainly has been known for its speed in the past. Today, however, ladies and gentlemen, we introduce the new A Cup package here. So instead of entering these turns at, somewhere between 210 miles an hour, it's going to be about 185 when you're by yourself in the draft. That does increase over time. As we are watching qualifying underway now, the drivers here in the DRL Cup Series trying to set the field for tonight's Michigan 200. 100 laps here tonight. Partly cloudy, 78 degrees ambient temperature. Should give us some pretty decent racing tonight, Martin. Now let's try to follow a driver here and show these viewers what Michigan is all about, as we are going to go on board with Chris Lucky. As you can see, setting that high line like you would a super speedway, getting ready to take his hot lap here. So you go down into turn one here. Here you're hitting about 190 miles an hour. You slowly, you would normally be slowly hitting down to that first groove here. Of course, Chris Lucky trying to build up speed for his hot lap.
Right now, just so much slower.
Yeah, right. Wade Houston has the fast time of a 39.3 currently. We'll see if Chris Lucky has anything for him. A couple drivers electing to start in the back. As again, you're riding on board with Chris Lucky. Dives down low on the start-finish line, coming in here into 1 and 2. Slow apex down to that first seam line. Just below that, there's actually less banking than the rest of the track above it, which is 18 degrees. So going below that, Martin, we're going to see some passing tonight down there. That's going to be a little bit sketchy. This is actually a looser setup than what iRacing has given us so far this season. So the rear end is pretty free. And you see Chris Lucky travel up to maximize his speed here to get the checkered flag on his qualifying attempt. And he sets a 39.3, just a few thousandths of a second off of Wade Hustad's hot time. But looking at the point standings tonight, the last time we came here, Martin, Wade Hustad did get the win. It was in dominating fashion, but it was a completely different package. With this car here, in my experience, from running it last week, there's grip there to be had, but it's snappy loose. With these top guys that we have, Wade Hustad, Chris Lucky, these guys are some of the best drivers that we've seen with handling a looser race car. But what do you think the challenges are of having a wicked snapping loose car that can snap at any second without warning?
It's the same as just any of those tracks like Texas. I mean, you're coming out of the turn and you think you have it, and then you just whip right across the nose of someone else who's coming up behind you. And that's something I remember from this track over the years here in DRL is guys coming out of turn two and just being right on top of each other, and then someone just snapping loose, and that collects a bunch of cars. And we don't have a lot of cars out there tonight to begin with. Probably only 21 if Alexander Russell gets back out there. So, hopefully we don't have too many big wrecks early on to thin this field out.
Yeah, in the past, turn 2 has been the problem spot. We've seen a lot of people, trying to feather the throttle, and you've seen a lot of people hit that turn 2 well. Tonight, however, it's going to be the opposite end of the track. It's going to be turns 3 and 4 where people are going to be dealing with that snappy loose, especially on these restarts. People are going to be trying to pass down low, which tends to free that rear end right up, and we're going to see hopefully a lot of checking up. We're going to see a lot of near misses, but potentially when these guys are grouped up on these restarts, we could see the big one. But with qualifying underway, we do have Wade Hustad as our pole sitter. We'll move him in here for a quick interview. Wade Hustad, do you have a copy, sir?
Yeah, I do, guys.
Well, we're talking about the new package. We talked about in years past how coming off of turn 2 has been the thing. Tonight, it's going to be the exact opposite end of the track. It's going to be managing your rear end in 3 and 4. Tonight, what have you picked up in practice as far as ways to combat that snap loose, especially when you're trying to attempt to pass on the bottom?
Well, I think kind of what we found out is if you're tucked up behind somebody, you're looser. So if you take kind of a bigger, wider turn, going high, you can probably push the car a little bit more and keep it from rotating so fast. But even with that, there's no sensitivity to when it actually is going to snap on you. So you just kind of have to manage your expectations tonight and hope for the best. I mean, I think there's going to be quite a few yellows. And we just have to get to the end. But everybody's going to be fighting the same thing tonight, and that's this thing being really loose.
Yeah, we've seen it just, as it rolls over in the center of 3 and 4, it just snaps. And, you can take a wider apex, you can burp the throttle, do whatever you need to do. But, tonight, Wade, hopefully, we've seen you win here in the old package in a way that is, almost jaw-dropping. But tonight, you got your work cut out for you, buddy. So have a good race, and hopefully we talk to you at the end of this thing.
Thank you, guys. That's what we're hoping for. We'll see you at the end.
And that was Wade Hustad, our pole sitter. We'll pull up the starting lineup for the Michigan 200. Martin, as he said, could have some yellows here. I do suspect normally when we get that looser setup, Martin, it seems like we might have a quick yellow or two, but the field kind of gets strung out a lot faster because different drivers have different ways of letting out the throttle and combating that loose race car. So I think we can get some yellows. I think we will also get that long green flag run that you normally see here at Michigan. But I guess we're about to find out as we are set to go green here in just a second. Now, as we set to go green here, Martin, who's one driver that you can think of that maybe needs a good points day?
A good points day. Let's see. I'd say John Theodore.
Green.
Well, with the green flag out, he's starting on the inside of that 4th row, so we'll see what John Theodore can do. But I certainly agree with that. He's had some speed, but had some rough luck.
Yeah, he's holding at 13th. He's not in a terrible position. A couple guys in front of him, like Eric Hutton, we haven't seen him in a while, so he's gonna be dropping down. But the rest of those guys ahead of him are out there on the track right now. And then right behind him, you got John Mullins and Spencer Tart. Those guys are out there as well. Anthony Burrows finally back out on the track. It's already 3 wide going into turn, what is this, turn 3 and 4?
Turn 3 and 4. Springer, who uncharacteristically, he starts up front. Normally, he's one of those guys that likes to ride in the rear and see kind of how the race plays out, but he's being a little bit more aggressive today and starting up front, but he tries to pass to below that first seam, ladies and gentlemen. There is less banking down there. You're going to see a lot of guys try to take advantage of that on these restarts, but after a while, you're going to see snapping loose as we see a car get snappy loose. I believe that was the 4 of Jim Westerfield. Actually, that was John Mullins. Get a little loose there off of 2 there. It's Chad Presnall. Got a little bit of a late start, starting from the pits here, trying to avoid going a lap down as these leaders are just bearing down on him. Wade Hustad, Anthony Burrows, and Joseph Helt are our top 3. Ooh, Joseph Helt gets a little loose there. So that's another thing here tonight, Martin. You have to burp the throttle if you get loose, and because these are so momentum-based now, he goes from running 2nd or 3rd to almost outside the top 10.
Yeah, and at the same time, it looks like behind John Mullins, Musel got loose. He went down into the apron. He got really loose. He went below that blue cone that sits there. And he drops all the way to the back of the field. Let's see, where'd Musel start? Musel started in 12th. He's now running 19th. Chad Presnall on the track. He's in the midst of the leaders, but he is down 2 laps. He had some issues getting connected.
Wade
I mean, look at
Hustad,
these
your
top
leader.
3 cars.
Yeah, Wade Hustad, your leader over Anthony Burrows and Mike Springer. Again, normally one of those guys that kind of starts near the back, and had a heartbreaking loss there at Charlotte the last time we went racing. Almost won that. So tonight he's going to be a little bit more aggressive. We see up here in the top 3. Chris Lucky looking there down on the inside, but right now we're looking at this battle in front of Joseph Helt between the aforementioned John Theodore, Logan McAnally, and Spencer Tart.
Yeah, and back to Mike Springer, we don't talk about him a lot. It seems he's not a guy that springs to mind as one of those contenders, even though he always is. He's always a guy who's up in the top 5 in points on the season standings. And I got the season standings pulled up here. It's amazing looking at the top 5 right now. Wade Hustad, Thomas Harmon, Chris Lucky. We've seen them with wins this season. And then it's Taylor Butcher Benjamin in 4th, coming up. I believe he was down in the trucks last year, right?
He was Grand National last year.
Yeah, Grand National. He had a lot of connection issues and various things that really made his last season difficult to get out there on the track and actually compete. And here he is in the Cup Series, 4th in points, just quietly chugging along.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking at this lead group, they were just single file, and all of a sudden it looks like they just went 2 by 2 by 2 as we pull up these point standings real quick. Tonight, notable misses. Chris James out tonight. Eric Hutton. Eric Wolf. So, I mean, some of these lead drivers weren't able to make it to the race tonight. But Anthony Burrows does make the pass on Wade Hustad, and one thing that we're going to see over the next 4 or 5 laps is who's able to manage that throttle. You can kind of burp it a little bit on corner entry here and save a little bit of tire. But there goes Logan.
Yeah, he was right on 77's bumper, Chris Lucky's bumper, and I thought that would be an issue. And then you just saw his back end start leaving. He was able to correct it and save it. Just loses 2 positions to Mike Springer and Spencer Tart. Tart running that new, I want to say it's a Nerds scheme.
Sweet Tarts.
Sweet Tarts. Yeah, Sweet Tarts. Those are.
We'll highlight that beautiful paint. Of course, that paint done by Fatal Concepts. That is a teammate, Bill Edwards, a teammate of Spencer Tart. He does those excellent paints for that team. And
both of those are from Wonka or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you got the nerd. I think both packages, the Nerds and the Sweet Tarts, have that pink and blue scheme, and the Sweet Tarts actually makes a lot more sense. Playing off the name, just
playing off the name, of course. Now that last time by, they were running 39.7s, which is about a half a second off their qualifying time. So the pace is starting to slow down a little bit. The tire wear starting to become a little bit of an issue. Let's ride on board with Anthony Burrows as the lead car without any draft. We're gonna try to listen to his throttle and watch his hands here as he comes down this front straightaway, and see kind of what this new Ford Mustang, new addition here to iRacing this week. We'll see how it is handling as he goes into turn 1. Lets off just a little bit there and is right back on it. But look at those hands. You can tell these cars are uncharacteristically a little bit of a handful. It's something we have not seen this year in this new package.
Well, while you were in the car, Hustad has dropped back to 5th place. He caught the wall a little bit coming out of turn 4.
Oh, he does have a little bit of right front damage.
Yep, and it's all clumping up now. This top 8 cars are all right on top of each other. Chris Lucky and Spencer Tart making a move. And Lucky's going to move into the lead going into turn 1.
So that is Chris Lucky, the 77 Toyota. Behind him, Spencer Tart has kind of followed Chris Lucky through that pack.
Yeah, Burrows just moved in behind Tart and almost caused an incident with Logan McAnally. McAnally had a nice run. He has to dive to the inside. He easily passes the 62, and he's now in 3rd.
So that 88 Chevy, gets a little loose.
He's bouncing around, yeah.
He and the 28 both had a little bit of a wiggle there, which gives 77 a little bit of a gap, but allows Burrows and Wade Hustad and also Joseph Helt to try to make their way on by and grab a position here from Logan. We saw that bobble earlier in the run, and then he was able to rebound nicely, and we saw it again. Just having to burp that throttle, you just lose so many spots, especially, ooh, Mike Springer.
Yeah, guys are just moving around, and like when you moved into the car, it was single file, it was spreading out, and just like that, Hustad catching the wall a little bit, and the top 8 cars were all on top of each other in just a moment. So it looks like it's going to spread out. It looks like it's going to go single file, and then just like that, someone gets a run, and there's 8 cars clumped up on top of each other.
Yeah, Chris Lucky, Spencer Tart have kind of gapped Logan a little bit, but behind Logan, it's still a little bit of a, they are single file, but that's one move away from being double file, as we saw earlier. Behind, let's drop back to 8th.
They lost Wade Hustad there. He's disappeared, and hopefully he gets reconnected, but he's been gone a while, so he might have just gotten dumped from the race.
And that is our points leader, so that is significant. Especially with Anthony Burrows being in the race, Wade Hustad doesn't, he doesn't want to lose an opportunity to take a win. He doesn't want to lose that opportunity to get a win, especially
there
with
he
Anthony
is.
Burrows.
He comes back in. So he just had he was gone for almost a lap there. Jumps back in front of Mike Springer in between.
But his
and Springer.
His scoring didn't update. He's still being he it's like he was there, but he wasn't. So iRacing, he's now a lap down according to my scoring right now, in 19th.
Yeah, it's got him back there too. We'll see if that updates and what happens. Maybe he got a black.
Oh, Spencer!
Whoa, and the 28. Hey, 28 saves it. Beautiful save.
Let's get a replay on that from the car here of Spencer Tart. We saw this a lot in practice.
I just got loose.
He lets off the throttle a little bit. Car kind of travels a little bit high, and it rolls over, and he almost gets into the 88 there. Does an excellent job of saving it.
Yeah, he did a good job of staying off the 88. As soon as he started going loose, he looked like he started correcting it. Yeah, that's very unfortunate for Wade Hustad. Down a lap. We'll see what happens here. Maybe race control. Maybe we do have James, Dakota, and Jeremy up in race control right now. So James, obviously the owner of the league, might look at that and go, "Hey, we'll give him that lap back." I mean, he will be the lucky dog.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and at the same time, that's an equipment issue. Not everyone else is lagging out. Who knows? But
yeah, so who knows what they'll give them there. That's kind of strange. I've never seen that happen before, where guys lagged out and then lost the whole lap.
Yeah, they stop. It's normally when they lag out, the scoring stays updated.
Stay where they are until they either completely disconnect or come back.
But Logan McAdamley, he has passed Chris Lucky, and we'll see how long these guys can continue to fight this loose setup here. I'm not sure what the track temperature is currently. We do know the ambient was 78 degrees.
Yeah, track's at 121 right now.
That's very, very hot.
It hasn't really changed though. It was at 120, I think, during qualifying. So it didn't seem like it's.
Yeah, in practice, these guys it was about 110. So getting increasingly hot, which means it's getting increasingly loose. But that has allowed these leaders to spread out just a bit. Anthony Burrows third, Joseph Helt in fourth, Mike Springer currently. That rounds out your top 5. And Spencer Tart, after that bobble, back there in 11th next to his teammate Thomas Harmon, who is in 10th.
Well, we don't mention it too much on the broadcast, but this is a fixed setup, meaning everyone's got the same exact setup. You can't really tinker with it too much. I think you can change a few things. I believe that you could I think you can change the tire pressure a little bit.
The only thing is you can change your brake bias, which here your brake bias here, which does nothing because you do not use a brake here at Michigan except for pitting under green. Which that will also be something we keep an eye on here. Martin, sliding through your pit box here at Michigan is a very real thing, similar to Talladega, where you just slide through your box. It's almost as if they covered that pit road in Crisco. But another thing you can change is your steering offset, which changes how much and your steering ratio, which changes how sensitive your steering wheel is, how much wheel input you need to put into the car as you turn into these corners. I myself run a 16-to-1 with normally a very aggressive plus steering offset. It helps manage that right front a little bit, but it is less responsive. And here tonight, with how loose these cars are, you just never know which way is the better way to go. As Thomas Harmon moves into 9th.
Well, with that fixed setup, everyone is on the same level equipment-wise. Oh, Anthony Burrows snaps loose coming out of 4. That's going to let Joseph Helt move into 3rd. I don't think we mentioned that. Joseph McGanley is in the lead now.
Now we're on board with Joseph Helt, looking back at that beautiful Mustang of Anthony Burrows. Again, that is the newest addition to iRacing as far as the stock car side of things is concerned. Of course, they brought in a whole new rally truck series. Also, they added something that will affect us today. They updated the dynamic weather. So cloud cover, there's certain parts of the track now that will be hotter and colder. Oh, Logan! He gets very loose off of turn 3 and 4. And that is the 3rd time that we've seen him almost lose it here. We'll get a quick replay of that. Completely sideways.
Whoa,
What a save.
Look at Helt. Yeah, and with that, Helt just gets a super run. And he goes side by side with Chris Lucky into turn 1?
Yeah, turn 1. Now, this is the type of run here. We haven't seen Joseph Helt. We saw him a lot last year up front and competing. This year, he's been relatively quiet, and this could be a good race here for Joseph Helt as Logan tries to get that pass back, but passing on the low side here, that 88. I mean, that's treacherous with how loose these cars are right now, given our track conditions.
Yeah, this has been a good race. This has been a good, fun, exciting race so far. It's again, we were introduced to the new package in iRacing, this new NASCAR package at Auto Club, and I remember Branch and I had a lot of fun with that race. That race was really fun. Auto Club usually not being a incredibly fun race to watch.
Yeah, it does have that reputation.
And then we went to Texas. And Texas was dull. Texas was single file. It just got spread out. No one was passing. It was just going around that oval. But here we see these top, well, now it's 7 cars, and again, Hustad is a lap down technically, but he's still right there. They're swapping positions. There's a ton of movement, and all it takes is one guy. It seems like when a guy loses a little bit, 2 or 3 guys suddenly get on a run, and they just go flying past him and almost fly past the leader at the same time.
Yeah,
and you can see Burrows struggling with that car coming out of the turn. You just see his back end wiggling a lot.
Yeah, Burrows looks like he had a little bit of right rear damage, which shouldn't affect him too much, but also we're seeing Wade Hustad with that right front damage, and so far, connection issue aside, he's been able to maintain with that lead group. And we'll drop back here to Spencer Tart, trying to make up for that huge save that he had, but obviously lost a lot of positions. Looking inside the 38 Chevy of Mike Lemon. Now,
but kind of going.
What's that?
Going back to that, the idea of the fixed setup is that these guys can't adjust as the track gets hotter, their car.
Right.
And they can't adjust, if they feel it's too loose or it's too tight or whatever, they can't adjust anything, and that's the case all season. That's nothing new for us, but that's something we don't mention a lot, that these guys are all they have to hang on to this car, whatever iRacing gives them to drive. And there is talk right now in the league of maybe going with a paid series, which might have an open setup, which would possibly make the racing better with a dynamic weather. Dynamic weather and a fixed setup that could be the recipe of why we have quite a few yellows sometimes in some of these races.
Well, and because right now with the track conditions, if this was an open setup, with these guys right now, they're struggling with a lot of loose on center to exit. So that would be a left rear track bar adjustment. That's something you can do in the pits. A right rear track bar adjustment would fix tightness or looseness on corner entry, and they just can't do that. The one thing you can do, and this is what we've seen: Wade Hustad, Anthony Burrows, Eric Wolf. We've seen them separate themselves from the rest of this pack. Your adjustments are in your right foot. It's how much you burp, the throttle, how you play with the throttle on corner, throughout the corner. And here, there's not really a lot of room to do that because you kind of burp the throttle on entry, as we'll go on board with Richard Lucky here. You burble the throttle a little bit on entry, but after that you have to be flat out in order to maintain that speed. So it's like you're kind of put into a box where you can't really adjust your driving style to what the car needs, or else you'll be in the back of the pack in no time.
Yeah, this is our DRL series there. It's very much a driver-centric kind of thing. It's not, of course, you still need to know what you're doing when you're a driver and you're adjusting your vehicle. You need to know what you need to adjust. You need to know, and have a good crew chief maybe as well that knows how to do that. But, with a fixed setup, it's all on the driver. It's all on adjusting how you're driving it, what points you're hitting, how you're burping that throttle, how much brake you're using or when you're using it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on the driver there. There's no in-car adjustments. There's no pit road adjustments, and it's a different kind of racing, and some guys prefer it. Some guys would like to have that open setup. It's and it leads to a different kind of racing. I mean, you see in NASCAR in real life, and Wade Husek gets a little loose there. You'll see how just the different kind of setup and just the different amount of R&D work that a team's able to put in. You can just see the massive spread in the field, where you'll have a Kevin Harvick or a Kyle Busch lapping, putting guys down 10 laps because that guy's just going around the track going 170. His equipment just can't go as fast. These guys can all go the same speed. They all have the same equipment, and it just comes down to completely down to driver talent.
Right, and it's funny because even given the fact that Wade Hustad lagged out and his speed scored 19th a lap down, he's still dropped from that pole position back to what would be 7th spot. So he's still not having that incredible run. He does have that right front damage that he will need to fix as soon as he possibly can. And the Lucky brothers are running 5th and 6th, though. Very impressive run by both of them.
Yeah, we'll see if there's going to be any scoring, if they're going to change the scoring on that, or if he'll just get that lap back as the Lucky Dog and have to just work his way through. And probably that'll be what the case would be. It's just you can't make that exception all the time. It's just something new we haven't seen before, where a guy blinks out and doesn't really lose or go off the track and park, and then loses a lap when he hops back in. So he's where he would have been if nothing had happened. He's kind of fading a little bit. He scored his 19th, but he's running in what would be the 7th position.
Yeah, and given the fact that these top 7 drivers haven't really separated themselves, besides Logan, who has pulled out to a 2.1 second lead, which we saw, you talked about Texas, that's the last time we saw Logan really put on this type of performance 31 laps into this 100-lap race. Behind them, though, there's a big gap here between these cars, from 6th to 7th, looking at John Theodore back in 7th spot. This would be a good points day for him, but right now he's out of contention. He's nowhere near 6th place right now. Almost 7 seconds back of 6th.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, just looking at the standings. Again, we have, up in the Cup Series, we've had only 5 different winners this season, and a couple of rookies doing that. Chris Lucky and Logan McAnally with 4 wins between the two of them, 2 wins apiece. And just looking at this top group, who's looking for that first win? That's Joseph Helt and Mike Springer, and Richard Springer are looking for his first win as well. Richard Lucky. I think he had that chance. Where was that? Where he actually pushed his brother to the win instead.
Yeah,
he had a shot.
I'm not sure, but interesting development. Interesting development. Some of these guys in the
Mike
back.
Springer going down pit road.
Yeah, some of these guys are starting to get their green flag pit stops in. 33 laps in to this 100-lap race, which would make this them needing one more stop to make it to the end here.
Yeah, so Dustin Musial looks like he was the first one down. Mike Springer, though.
Yeah, Bill Edwards.
That lead.
Bill Edwards pitted a couple laps ago, and then Musial got the party started. We have Theodore, Mike Springer, John Mullins come down pit road now. How long before these leaders pit? Because they can't really hold out too much longer, because Mike Springer will come out and he will have those fresher tires, and he will be going significantly faster, as that last time by Logan McNally run He ran a 40.6, which is over a second and a half off of his qualifying pace. So it won't be long before we see these leaders come down pit road.
Yeah, this has been a nice long green run. I'm really interested to see if a yellow comes out, at what point a yellow will come out, because we have seen some pretty nasty break loose. Some of these cars breaking loose pretty nastily. There goes Logan McAnally breaking a little bit. It looked like he was thinking about even coming down pit road. As soon as he started breaking loose, it looked like he was aiming to come down pit road.
Well, we are watching the battle off pit road. Really Joseph Helt, Burrows, Hustad, Lucky off, Thomas Harmon, Spencer Tart. So
yeah, the leader's got to be thinking about coming down right now, because that's everyone behind him.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be on fresh tires.
So just about all but 4 drivers have pitted, and that includes our race leader Logan in the 88 Chevy, Chris Lucky in the 77 behind him, Richard Springer in the 21, Robbie Armstrong in the 93, our defending Truck Series champion. He is the last car that has not pitted in 4th place. He is 30.9 seconds behind the leader. And Joseph Helt in 5th. As we were watching him, he will probably retake the lead here once the green flag pit stops have cycled through. As we will, we'll pay attention to his lap time as he crosses here in half a lap. I want to see how much faster than Logan McNally he is this time by.
And it looks like Chad Presnell has gotten out of the car. I think he just calling it a night. He's, Presnell, one of those guys that wasn't too hot about this new package, has shown up actually the last few weeks to race, but I think starting the race 2 laps down and really seeing no way to get back into it. Someone who's not really thrilled with the package probably doesn't want to just be driving around 2 laps down.
Right.
Not really competing.
Well, that last time by, Joseph Helt ran a 39.4, so he is more than a second faster than Logan. So the longer that Logan stays out, the more the more time he's going to lose to these leaders that we're looking at right now here in 5th. That is Joseph Helt. Some of these guys may be banking on a caution here, but we have gone caution-free for all 37 of these 100 laps so far here in the Michigan 200.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, if Logan McAnally had pit a little bit before Helt had caught him here, he would have been able to come back out, and he'd just be it'd be basically in the same spot, wouldn't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But right now,
but now he's gonna lose a bunch of positions when he goes down pit road. He's gonna end up coming back out probably 5th at least. Well, out of the top 5.
And one thing, because with this new package, it does have that super speedway style racing. Logan McNally, he's going to pit, and he might come out by himself, where these leaders are all having each other's draft too, which helps increase their speed. So we'll see how this pans out. DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break as our leader does take his first pit stop here under green. When we return, more racing here in the Michigan 200. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Michigan 200 here on DRL TV for the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series. Just about ready to approach halfway. Chris Lucky, our leader, has pit, and that will give the lead to Joseph Helt once that cycles through. Again, lap 43 of 100 here in the books. Joseph Helt, Anthony Burrows will be first and second once these pit stops cycle through, and Logan McAnally, who was the leader once this, once we started this green flag stops, he waited a while to pit, and now he is back in third. But he didn't end up actually losing too much time. He did have a 2-second lead when Joseph Helt came in for the pits, and now he is back by 2 seconds. So staying out those extra laps didn't hurt him quite as much as I thought it would there, Martin.
Yeah, he's only right back up in third.
And he is running a few, he is running those faster lap times, so he could very well catch back up to these leaders and be a factor. So,
yeah, I suppose it makes sense. I mean, yeah, he's gonna be running a little bit faster time, so we'll be able to catch up with the group and then possibly pass them. So I guess it is what it is. There, I mean, maybe he knows something more than we know.
Yeah, we saw a lot of drivers try to stay out a little bit longer. Maybe if this goes green, this could set them up for having a quick pit stop later on just for fuel, trying to save some time some way. But right now, Anthony Burrows has taken that lead from Joseph Helt. Wade Hustad, who is behind these drivers, is a lap down because of connection issues, and here comes Logan McAnally, and we've seen him, as he gets more aggressive fighting for this lead, we've seen him struggle with the handling. And he catches these guys fast. He's just trying to take it down low. He goes all the way to that yellow. Oh, Wade Hustad!
There's your trouble. Yeah, that became trouble. Hustad's going to go...
And he's going to spin.
Come sliding into the grass.
And he's also going to have a lot of damage here. Caution has not waved.
He is in big trouble. Because no caution. He's got damage. He's slow.
We'll get a quick replay there.
Wow, yellow finally comes out.
And we see Wade Hustad kind of had a checkup for his teammate there in the 0-2. He gets a lot of damage here, and we were talking about maybe getting wave rounds and free passes. At this point, that 32 has enough damage there. I do not think it will matter anymore, but the caution does wave.
Really late, and in real life, I think that caution would come out. That's not unwarranted. I mean, that caution would come out in real life. There's damage.
Yeah,
there's
probably
probably stuff on the track, and you got a car spinning around in the grass there in the infield, and trying to come back up on the track. It's going to bring out a caution. So, race control finally gets around and throwing that out. Hustad gets a little bit of mercy.
And so what this is going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get the green flag probably around lap 50-51, which doesn't mean they could, that means you still have one more stop if we get another green flag, stint like we just had. So these drivers aren't done with pit road yet, even after this stop here. And it also gives us the opportunity to bunch this field back up, and some of those guys that were running kind of near the back that we saw drop, like a Mike Springer, Mike Lemon, all those guys that were near the front but are now kind of in the middle of the field. This gives them that opportunity to, kind of come back up and play with these leaders a little bit. But one thing it does do is, as a result, Wade Hustad, a lot of damage. I think his opportunity to win a race here is just about all but done. And that will, that'll hit the point standings a little bit, but he does still have those wins. Obviously, point standings are kind of just for seeding purposes for the playoffs, Martin.
Yeah, well, and it also depends on how many wins you have. And he's got 3 wins, so he's still currently going into the playoffs. He'll be second in those playoff points and all that right now. Depending on what happens with Anthony Burrows, his eligibility and all that. Just looking at that, what happened there, again, it was just Joseph Helt got loose. He got loose, kind of slowed up, and 32 really had nowhere to go. Got boxed in, and Yeah, the O2s probably feel a little bit bad about that as well.
Well, everyone does take those 4 tires, fills it up with fuel, and that will give Logan McAnally the lead. When we go back under green, ladies and gentlemen, DRL TV will take a quick commercial break. When we get back, green flag racing here in the Michigan 200. Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Michigan 200 half lap until we are set to go green here, lap 50 of 100. First caution today comes out for Wade Hustad, checking up for his teammate in the O2, Joseph Helt. Hits the wall pretty hard, suffers some significant damage, but he is back on the lead lap here. 50 laps to go, 100 more miles. Martin, who do you got so far in this race?
Well, the way it's looking, I mean, Logan McAnally is having a good race. He's gotten loose a few times, but so is Joseph Helt, and they're both on the front row. Thomas Harmon, we haven't talked about a lot today. He's running third, so I don't know, maybe Thomas Harmon.
Yeah, he was kind of mired back in no man's land here for a little bit, but Logan gets that green flag, gets a pretty good jump here, and we will see what happens here as these drivers get up to speed here at Michigan International Speedway.
And I say Harmon because we haven't talked about him getting loose at all today, whereas Joe Helt and Logan McAnally, they've gotten pretty loose at times, and that could come to bite them later in this race. And
Well, here comes Harmon inside to try to get a taste of the lead here from the 88. Does slide up in front. He will get that point for leading at least, and that will help him in the point standings as they are 3 wide behind him. And Mike Lemon, Mike Springer down on the apron. This is in the middle of the pack, fighting for around top 7 spots here. Spencer Tart, who was up front earlier in the race, he's trying to claw his way back. We're going to see a lot of aggressive moves in the next couple laps because of the, oh, we have a spin.
Oh, yeah, Gary Cronenwet and Bill Edwards. Looked like Bill Edwards was getting sideways. Cronenwet had gotten into him, and it looked like the 10 was going to get by, and then the 75 collected him as well. Yep, just got him. Gets him on the front end, and that's going to catch. Ooh.
Oh, we're watch this replay here. We are on board, or we are looking at the 10 of Garrett Cronenwet.
Yeah, if you can get a shot of the 21 after this, go on Richard Springer.
That looks like net code.
Yeah, a little bit of net code, but again, net code isn't out of nowhere all the time. It was very close. On our screen, you see it was about a foot of difference there, but that's going to happen.
Yeah, it looks like Edwards didn't go all the way up. He didn't track all the way to the wall. Gary comes up.
He stayed.
A little bit of net code there, but as you mentioned, we saw the 21 take a huge hit as we will ride on board with
21
the 21.
Right into the, did not even. I don't think he realized what was happening. By the time he realized, the 93 did a good job of checking up. I don't think the 93 got out of that. Even checking up was going to be able to stop in time.
No.
Well, he actually did. The 93 slowed up in time. It did not hit it until the 21 gave him a nice pilot.
I'm not sure if 21 knew what was going on there. He was going with full throttle into that, so that as a result, of course, he gets a lot of damage.
Yeah, his whole front end is gone. He's probably done.
So Logan stays out though, but we have some takers here on pit road. Looks like a few drivers will stay out. That includes Spencer Tart there, and most drivers elect to come down pit road and get some tires. Maybe we'll see a 2-tire stop here by most of these leaders, and of course they will top off on fuel. Now we saw earlier in the race, I believe it was Chris Lucky go about 42 laps on fuel. So with these leaders that are pitting in now, I believe they could make it to the end on fuel as it stands currently. And by leaders, I mean the people that came down pit road.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm just looking back at that replay of Richard Lucky. I'm thinking, Richard Springer. I'm thinking what he was doing there is I think he stayed on the throttle because I think he was. I'm gonna say think over and over and over again here, but it looked like I think he thought that Bill Edwards and Gary Cronenwet were going to kind of fade down into the lower line, and he was just going to gut it through there, stay on the outside. Him and the 93 would get by, and it looked like the 93. Yeah, I think he thought the 93 was still going at full speed and was going to make it through, and the 93 had actually almost completely stopped to not run into that. Unfortunately for Robbie Armstrong, that didn't really help him.
And all 4 of those drivers are non-points drivers that were involved in that incident. So that won't have anything to do with point standings, but it will have something to do with the pace of this race, as that is going to bottle this field up one more time as we see John Mullins decide to pit this time. And that will, that might be fuel strategy as well. So he will come down, fill up that car with fuel, get 4 fresh tires, and drop to the back of the pack. Which again, really, as far as drivers that don't have significant damage, that only puts them in 15th spot. So that's not a huge hole to climb out of for Mr. John Mullins there. But looking at our leader, we saw the leader get a decent jump on that last restart, Martin. But by the time they went into turn 3, Thomas Harmon, he was on the attack and on the inside. So maybe something. It could be almost like a Talladega where if you get that big jump on that start, that's actually not a great thing to have. We'll see here. We do have those first 4 drivers will be on 7-lap old tires. Thomas Harmon in 5th will be the first car with 4 fresh tires.
Well, just as that yellow came out, I was about to mention it was 3 wide. You had that traffic jam. Jim Westerfield was kind of sandwiched there, 3 wide. He had 3 wide behind him coming up on him and about to chew him up, including Wade Hustad and Anthony Burrows, and those two guys are still behind Jim Westerfield, and that's a big swing for Wade Hustad. He went from being a lap down. And the lap down was because of connection issues, and so the race control gave it back to him. And so if he gets back up into this lead pack, that's where he should have been. But
yeah, we are looking at his damage right now. We're looking at his damage right now, and it is fairly significant. So, especially with that right rear spoiler being crinkled a little bit, we're going to see how that affects not his speed, but maybe even his handling. It might either tighten the car up or maybe even make it looser, which, if you're following the race from the beginning, being looser isn't necessarily something that is ideal here at Michigan tonight. But after those 4 cars in the back are collected here, we still have, I believe we still have 16 cars that are on the lead lap. With 44 laps to go here, everyone, I'm confident in saying that Thomas Harmon on back will be just about good on fuel here, and those top 3 maybe not, depending on how what they've done here under caution. But I don't think it's too far of a stretch here, Martin, to say that we might get another caution here. It's just these restarts are just so key to gaining and losing spots. This is the most aggressive that we will see these drivers all night on these restarts.
Well, again, we have to remember those top 3 cars are on older tires. We also have a little bit of a connection issue right now going on with Spencer Tart.
Yeah,
he's blinking a little bit.
Spencer Tart does blink a tad. He is Mike Springer, who's in 15th. He decided to pit as well and top off on gas.
But that front row, Logan McAnally. Now McAnally is he's a guy that's proven it up there. But he's on older tires. He's going to get a good jump. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, again, a quiet season, working his way in. I think he's top 5 in points. He's 4th in points, I believe.
Yeah, just like his DPR teammate in Mike Springer and in John Mullins, those gentlemen like to kind of start in back and just make sure that they're there at the end, and that has paid off, leaps and bounds for Taylor Butcher Benjamin. But on this restart here, he was 3 wide, and he is going to lose some spots as Spencer Tart looks for a taste of the lead here in turns 3 and 4. We'll see how these older tires fare under these top end speeds here.
Yeah, there goes Anthony Burrows making a move. Harmon cuts him off though. So Burrows is going to slide to the inside behind Joseph Helt and Spencer Tart. Tart switching lanes, goes to the outside now, and that's going to give Joseph Helt a shot at the lead.
Yeah, normally protecting the outside is the smartest way to go, but they are going to go.
Running out of room there.
He's going to make it 3 wide. My goodness.
Yeah, Tart did not. It looked like McAnally wanted to make the move, and then Tart kind of just said, I'm going to stay where I'm at. And that could have easily been the end of all 3 of those guys' race.
That gives Joseph Helt with those fresh tires. He will come out to the lead here. But Logan looks down inside. He goes all the way down to the grass, and it will be 3 wide as they enter turns 1 and 2 for the lead as Logan backs out and gets behind the 28 of Spencer Tart. And meanwhile, just behind these guys, we're seeing Anthony Burrows just kind of watching as he's running that high line. He's going to get a lot of momentum coming off the turns 1 and 2 here.
And Wade Hustad is now... He's 8th place, battling for 7th with Taylor Butcher Benjamin. I think he's going to get it on this turn. So he's right back up in the front. It looks like Dustin Musial in the back got a little bit loose. He's had that happen a few times today.
As we're watching this battle for the lead now, Logan trying to take it over here on the bottom. Fresh tires, not seeming, at least at this point, not a huge disadvantage for those top 2 as Spencer Tart and Logan are on those older tires. Anthony Burrows on those fresher tires trying to push Spencer to the lead. and get past the 88 of Logan McAnally. Now, we saw this at the beginning of the race. You know, it's about this time where people started really having some handling issues as they're trying.
Where it gets dangerous. Every time I see these three cars in the lead, Burrow's on the inside, and then you'll see a little gap open up, and McAnally almost looks like he wants to shoot through there and make it 3 wide. So Burrows is backed out, and now McAnally and Hart are in a 2-car race for the lead.
But here comes Thomas Harmon to the inside, and Mike Lemon has now entered the picture in 6th, with Wade Hustad behind him in 7th. And we'll see.
He's going down pit road there.
That was the 93 of Robbie Armstrong, who was involved in that last caution.
How did Chris Lucky end up down the lap?
That might have been from when he stayed out so long on during pit road, or during those green flag pit stops.
Just never got it back. Yeah, Burrow's right back up in there. Ooh, Thomas Harmon and Joseph Helt almost getting each other. Harmon has to back off. He's going to drop behind Mike Lemon. And Wade Hustad coming up fast.
Yeah, we'll see.
Harmon,
We'll see what kind of passing power Wade Hustad has, because with that damage, I don't see an issue with him staying behind a car. But as soon as he ducks out and gets that fresh air on, onto his own damaged car, that might be where the issues lie. Especially as these tires wear a little bit, we'll see whether he rises or falls. But right now, still in that top group, trying to salvage a decent points day out of this. And normally when you hit the wall as hard as he did and go spinning through the grass, your day is just about over with this new package. But right now, obviously Wade, being our one of the top drivers in our league, still able to manage that damage and stay within striking distance of the top 5. As we're watching Anthony Burrows try to take it outside on Spencer Tart.
Yeah, just down that stretch there, it looked like the 02 got right into the rear end of the 62. The 62 kind of got bumped into the 28. They all stayed straight, got a nice shot. Here comes the 02 again, right on the bumper.
And for now, Burrows is able to make that move on the 28, and that leaves the 02 to try to pass the 28. Let's ride on board with Spencer and see what he is seeing through his windshield. This is actually the 02 of Joseph Helt. His handling seems very nice. His hands are nice and steady. His throttle was, consistent. So it seems like maybe the handling, as the rubbers come down on this track, the handling has improved a little bit. We haven't seen the wicked snap loose that we saw earlier. As I say that, the 28.
Spencer Tart is loose, yep.
Again, Spencer Tart on those little bit older tires here. But we talked about, what happens, and we didn't bring this up. This is actually Wade Hustad during our pre-race interview with him as a pole sitter. He mentioned that when you're right behind a driver, that's when you can, that's when you are the loosest. And Spencer Tart there was tucked up behind the 02 of Joseph Helt and did get loose off the corner of 3 and 4, as we see Mike Lemon and Thomas Harmon battling for 4th and 5th position. So the top 3 have just about, put a little bit of a gap, as Joseph Helt, of course, gets a little loose, and that gap will decrease. But they put a little bit of a gap there over Thomas Harmon and the rest of this bunch behind him. And new tires, old tires, does not matter. The 88 is really putting on a great showing here tonight, Martin.
Yeah, I figured he was going to be, he struggled a little bit early on with some looseness. Some of some of that might have just been because he was coming up on other cars in front of him and he had to check up and kind of get out of his comfort, his line where he wanted to be. And he'd just have a nice run and then he'd come up on the back of a 28 or... We just saw the 32 kind of catch the wall, put off some smoke. So he's going to drop back. He's going to lose position to Taylor Butcher Benjamin and probably Richard Lucky.
Yeah, so that puts Wade Hustad back into 8th. That also moves Mike Lemon and Spencer Tart up. And Spencer Tart, after having to regain control of that car, has went back into the top 5. Another driver who is, he could use a good points day here for sure. Talking about the 28 of Spencer Tart. But up front, they kind of started battling here as Thomas Harmon caught the tail end of that three car breakaway, and it's past the 0-2 of Joseph Helt. And we're going to see with them battling, Spencer Tart is going to be able to catch these guys and maybe get back into the mix as well. And Anthony Burrows actually makes a pass on Logan for the lead.
Yeah, and they're coming right up on the 75. And McAnally had to make a quick move there, and that's pretty hard when you're possibly going to snap loose by turning that wheel too far left. But he was able to avoid the 75. And now he has to get back in line and battle with the 62, 68, and the 02 are coming up.
And the 88 took the high side in 1 and 2, which allows him to get a great run on the 62 of Anthony Burrows heading into 3 and 4. And we'll see if 62 crosses him over here, but for now, 88 retakes that lead.
Well, that's the thing about this season so far is we haven't had anyone really run away as a dominant driver. Unlike in past seasons, last year we had kind of the Wade Hustad and Anthony Burrows dominating in the win category. This year it's kind of spread out. It's spread out pretty evenly among those 5 drivers.
Right, yeah. Eric Wolf, also another driver last year that was able to put in, get a few wins as well, although he did bow out of the playoffs last season and was not a championship contender.
Yeah, but it really was. It was Burrows and Hustad last year with the majority of the wins, and then you had a few other guys scattered here and there, but so far this season, no one's really run away with it. You got Burrows with 4, Hustad with 3, and then you got McAnally and Lucky both with 2. And Thomas Harmon still sitting at 1, looking for another one.
And we're watching Joseph Helt try to overtake Thomas Harmon on the inside. There's some busy hands in the cockpit of that 0-2 there we just saw.
And it's getting a little busy on the track for these top 6 cars as they have to work their way past some lap traffic. Actually, John Mullins is not in that. He's a lap car as well, so these top 5 cars are working past John Mullins on the inside, Dusty Musial on the outside.
And these top 5 cars have broken away from the 6th place car of Mike Lemon, who is leading a little group of his own for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And earlier contenders such as Wade Hustad, Mike Springer, John Theodore, guys that we saw around the top 5 earlier in this race, have faded. Let's take a look back here at John Theodore. Trying to see if he has any damage here. I can't quite tell.
Well, it doesn't look like it. It looks pretty clean.
Yeah, it looks pretty clean. So almost 20.
So you might have a little bit, maybe a little bit of a scrape on the right side.
But
nothing insignificant.
Yeah, with 25 laps to go, we have Logan trying to stretch out a half a second lead. Anthony Burrows, Joseph Helt battling behind. And behind these drivers, we have the S2R teammates of Thomas Harmon, Spencer Tart in 4th and 5th. And Richard Lucky has moved up into 6th. And he's actually gaining on these leaders just a little bit. So Richard Lucky, we saw, he was just a few seconds back, but maybe a little bit of tire management there. And now he's able to maybe catch these leaders with a little bit fresher tires. Who knows?
Yeah,
as Lemon's actually going through the grass. Get a quick replay there of Mike Lemon doing a little landscaping here at Michigan International Speedway. This is him entering 3 and 4. And I expect his car to turn sideways at any moment here, and there it goes. Points him right down into the grass, similar to Wade Hustad. What a great save, though, by Mike Lemon.
I'm thinking John Mullins came down for some tires. That's why he's down the lap, and he's working his way past Anthony Burrows. Gap widening between the 88 and the 62, however.
Joseph Helt, one of our leaders, has decided to come down pit road. And he was one of the drivers on those newer tires. Only 22 laps on his tires. So we'll see if if this pays, if this is a strategy call for fuel. Maybe they're a little bit closer than I anticipated. But right now, Joseph Helt in pit road with his S2R teammate of Wade Hustad. So those two will be able to draft off of each other. Assuming they get out close enough to each other, which actually I don't think they were able to. So Helt comes out with fresh tires. Buddy has a little bit of ground to make up as he just goes one lap down there, looking at Logan McAnally just passing him on pit road exit. So interesting strategy call there for the 0-2.
Yeah, things are starting to get spread out here. We're going to see who can handle the car longer, and if it comes down to fuel, I think should be good on fuel.
Well, we know the 0-2 can make it now, and he's also going to have these fresher tires here, so if everyone decides to pit, which I don't think they will, the 0-2 will have the advantage. As you see him screaming past these cars on older tires. Now he will try to get his lap back the hard way as he's set his sights on the 88, who is our leader right now. But yeah, you were right. The top drivers have spread out a decent amount, and with those couple drivers pitting, that puts John Theodore in 7th, Mike Springer in 8th. Taylor Butcher Benjamin still up in the 6th spot. And
McAnally, a little bit of a wiggle there, coming down the tri-oval, the front stretch. A pretty decent gap, about a 1 second gap between him and Burrows, and then another 1.5 seconds between Burrows and Tart. So things are spreading out a little bit late in this race.
Yeah, and with 20 laps to go, DRL TV is going to take its final commercial break. When we get back, the finale of the Michigan 200 here in the DRL Cup Series. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. When we return, the end of the race, where we are able to crown our winner of tonight's race.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Michigan 200. Our leaders, most of our leaders have decided to pit. Anthony Burrows, Spencer Tart, Thomas Harmon, as they have just come on pit road with 19 laps to go. Logan McAnally, he will be coming in this time by. The track is a little bit darker, some cloud cover now, so not only are these guys going to have fresh tires, but they're going to have a little bit of a cooler track here, Martin. So we're going to see the fastest lap times we've seen all race here, with just inside 20 to go. And that gives Richard Lucky our lead. And as I mentioned earlier, we saw one of the Lucky brothers stay out about 42 laps on that first stop. So some of these guys electing to cut this last stint in half, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these other guys try to make it to the end. And And while we have a moment, I just want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. If you like our presentation here tonight, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also hit that bell icon, that way you can be notified anytime DRL TV goes live, which will be, the next time we go live here for the Cup Series will be next Monday, as we do a makeup race for the Pocono 200. That will be next week at Pocono, 80 laps. iRacing server issues last week because of the update, so instead of having a bye week next week, we will have the Pocono 200. And then our next broadcast will be tomorrow night for the B Series. Well, you'll watch me and Martin try to tackle this Michigan track in the B car. And that will be 88 laps tomorrow night. So if you are a fan of a specific driver or of the DRL TV broadcast in general, please hit that subscribe and that alert icon. That way you can be notified. But Martin, we've got about 17 laps to go here. Lucky in first, Butcher Benjamin in second. Do you think we'll see any of these guys try to stretch it here? And if so, I mean, that could really throw a wrench in some of these other guys' plans here.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's going to try to stretch it. I mean, there's always one guy going to take the gamble.
And we're watching Lucky there. He does clutch it. So he's saving. Lucky is absolutely dedicated to the fact that he wants to make it to the end. So Lucky's going to try to stretch it. John Theodore behind, who is in second. I imagine he and Mike Springer will do something similar. The first car that has pitted on those fresh tires is Joseph Helt. And he is 18 seconds back of the leader, but he is gaining 2 or 3 seconds a lap. So the math doesn't quite add up for Richard Richard Lucky.
I mean, it's only going to take him 6 laps to catch them.
Yeah, I'm not a mathematician. As a matter of fact, I failed algebra in high school, but that's pretty much plain as day to me.
Yeah, even as he falls off, at the most maybe 10 laps to catch them, they're going to have a hard time staying with him. And once he catches them, he's going to pass them too. He's not going to just catch them and sit there, and then it's going to be a battle for the lead with 5 laps to go. He's just going to go past them. So Joseph Helt sitting in a pretty good spot right now. He's got a...
But for Richard Lucky, we know he'll probably get passed by Joseph Helt, but do you think Richard Lucky can stay ahead of some of these other guys and still get a top 3 or 4 finish here? That will be the key. But right now, Joseph Helt sitting in a very, very good spot. But Richard Lucky certainly, I mean, this could be still a good gamble for him. Could come out of this with the top 5, but as of right now, the math, again, just isn't quite adding up.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those cases where he was sitting on the racetrack, it just made sense. Just stay out, and you're going to get past. You're not going to win this race, but you're going to finish better than where you were sitting. And why go and pit?
Right.
Why go and pit to maintain the same exact spot you were in when you could just stay out then, probably gain 2 or 3 spots.
Yeah, so with 13 laps to go, Richard Lucky has a 11.5 second lead, and we saw that battle for second end as quickly as it began as Joseph Helt passes Mike Springer, and Mike Springer again on those older tires. 31 laps on his tires, 33 laps for Richard Lucky. So Mike Springer is actually in a little bit better position than Richard Lucky is as far as fuel and tires are concerned. But he does get past. He is currently in third. John Theodore in fourth, and behind him, an absolute gaggle of cars on those fresh tires. Logan McAnally, Anthony Burrows, Thomas Harmon for 5th, 6th, and 7th. And Theodore will give way to those gentlemen. And that will put Theodore back into 8th place as soon as Spencer Tart completes the pass. So not only does Joseph Helt have a big gap because he did pit sooner, he was the first leader to pit. Not only does he have that big gap, but he also doesn't have to deal with battling one another like these guys in, that we're seeing with the 88, the 68, the 62. So that's kind of a little bit of an advantage for the O2. Even though he does have a little bit older tires, he doesn't have to deal with racing with anyone just yet. And Joseph Helt has already knocked 5 seconds off of that lead in the last 2 laps. Lead down to 6.2 seconds.
Yeah, Helt and Helton McAnally proved me wrong. I called Thomas Harmon to probably win this run, and Harmon still has a chance. Still has a chance. He's not out of it. But Helton McAnally looking in a pretty good position for this one, and
yeah, and Logan currently he had
some early. I mean, that first caution of the day where Wade Hustad got spun, into the wall. Wow, McAnally with a run. He's actually going to blow past Joseph Helt here.
Yeah, he's got 7 lap fresher tires than Joseph Helt. He's got 1 lap fresher tires than everyone else. So Logan McAnally, not only is he in the best spot to maybe capture this win, he also has the freshest tires. So things are starting to add up for the 88 here. He's run a very remarkable race here tonight.
Yeah, I called Thomas Harmon, but I think when I was saying that, I was also McAnally was kind of hovering there because I think he did win Texas, I believe.
Yes,
like that. I mean,
he more than won Texas. He absolutely dominated Texas.
Yeah. and that's the kind of track. I mean, that's kind of reminds me of here as well. And it's this idea. I think he kind of scared me off a little bit with those early race issues with some getting loose. But
handling.
I think those issues with him getting loose were him just coming up on people so fast and him having just adjust kind of.
Right. Well,
here comes Thomas Harmon and Anthony Burrows going past
Joseph Helt
pretty easily as well.
So I mean, Joseph Helt, who was sitting as I called it, in a very good spot, all of a sudden those older tires starting to shine through as this track starts to heat up. The sun has come back out, and Helt gets a little loose there, and that gives us the spot to Spencer Tart. But Martin, I do have the points pulled up, and this would be Logan's 3rd win, which ties him with Wade Hustad for the second most. Of course, Anthony Burrows has 4 currently, but he is down in 17th spot, still eligible for the playoffs, but certainly as far as the rest of the field is concerned, Wade Hustad, who a little bit of a late bloomer last season, he already has 3 on the year this year, but he also hasn't had the same amount of luck that he's had as we saw earlier this race. That was a good example of that, as Logan McAnally has taken the lead. Richard Lucky has fallen back now, and the old tires and fuel saving has proved to be not the race-winning move that Richard Lucky hoped that it had been.
That took a long time for my standings to reset. I felt like a really long lap or something because, yeah, I looked at my standings and Lucky was still in second.
I just noticed it too as soon as I called it. No, it's the same exact thing here.
It's like, wow, that took a long time.
But with 7 laps to go, Logan does have a 1.5 second gap over Burrows. Harmon just behind. So Anthony Burrows and Thomas Harmon are going to have to kind of team up here to try to catch this 88. Hopefully they have the discipline to do so, because instead of racing each other right now, they need to worry about catching that leader. And Burrows does gain a little bit of time that last time by. He ran about a 1/10 of a second faster, but he's going to need a little bit more to catch him.
Yeah, it's going to be close. I think they might get into spitting distance, but I don't know if they're going to be able to make a move past him. But we've got 6-7 laps to go here.
Let's keep an eye on Thomas Harmon and Anthony Burrows. These 2 drivers have to work together to catch this gentleman that is leading the race. And that is, with just 6 laps to go, that is very hard. That's a hard thing to do.
Burrows only shaved 0.02 of a second off on that lap. So unless there's a big mistake from Logan McAnally.
I'll
be all wrapped up.
Keep an eye, ladies and gentlemen, on the top of your screen. That is live scoring that is the interval between McAnally and Burrows. It has shrunk, but not enough. Again, not being a math wizard, I do know that shaving off a 1/10 of a second when you have a 1.2 second lead with just 4 laps to go isn't quite going to do it. But he's trying. Burrows does knock a little bit more off that time by. And not only that, Burrows is actually putting a little bit of time on Thomas Harmon as well. And other notable runs here as we run through the field with 5 to go. Spencer Tart, very eventful race from him. We've seen him fly around this track in just about the same way that we saw Logan as far as getting loose. But he currently sits in 4th. It'll be a good points day for him. Joseph Helt is comfortably in 5th. Richard Lucky, who did save that. He was saving fuel there. Still out there on those old tires. He is in 6th. Butcher Benjamin in 7th.
He's got to hold off the 8 there because the 8 is
Yeah,
coming up fast.
The 8 actually has the freshest tires on the track besides Wade Hustad, who just pitted. So the 8 is in a good opportunity, or he's in a good spot here. I don't know if he has enough to catch 5th. But this would be a good opportunity for Taylor Butcher Benjamin to maybe get a top 5 here if if Joseph Helt, has a little slip up. But right now it's shrinking. It's shrinking a little bit.
Yeah, it's shrinking. Now, I wonder how much of that is Logan McAnally letting off, taking it easy. I think he might actually. Logan McAnally hasn't pit since that really a while ago, yeah?
Logan actually has 16 laps on his tires. Anthony Burrows has 17, so...
okay. So they all pit together.
They all.
I was wondering if it was maybe a fuel issue.
No, they all pit together, but right now Burrows knocked a little bit off, but McAnally on that backstretch... Pardon me?
Starting to a little bit more urgency, but I think he waited a little bit too long. McAnally just isn't falling off enough for him.
And with 2 laps to go, McAnally hanging on to a 1-second lead. Thomas Harmon in 3rd. He is dropping back from Burrows. And Richard Lucky, meanwhile, has dropped down to 10th, which moves Mike Lemon and Mike Springer up a position. John Mullins up to 7th. Taylor Butcher Benjamin up to 6th. And 2 laps to go here for the 88 to hang on for his 3rd win of the season. We will keep our eyes on the 88 as we get the white flag this time by. White flag is out here in the Michigan 200. Just 2 miles to go until Logan claims his 3rd win of the season. Now, one thing we forgot to mention is green-white checkers is a new thing, but we will not see that today as Logan puts John Theodore a lap down. Anthony Burrows is trying to do everything he can, but he has, all is just about lost here if Logan can get through 3 and 4. And it will be the 88 who claims his 3rd win of the season. Anthony Burrows finishing 2nd, Thomas Harmon 3rd, Spencer Tart in 4th, and Joseph Helt rounds out your top 5 here in the Michigan 200. A very hectic race. We saw great battles here tonight, Martin. But in the end, it was the 88 who he showed us, through pit strategy and, through his racing prowess overall, that this was his race to lose from the beginning. So Logan, after starting 15th, claims the victory to here tonight. And we'll start pulling in our drivers in just a moment here for the post-race here on DRL TV. Martin, what's your big, if you have one, do you have any takeaways from this race as we're watching the 88 do some burnouts here? I can tell you one takeaway here. Logan McAnally, when he shows up to a race, he is certainly a favorite to win. And as Logan is celebrating his 3rd win of the season, we're going to pull in the 68 of Thomas Harmon, who finishes 3rd here tonight. Thomas Harmon, do you have a copy here? This is Getty in the DRL TV booth.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you start 18th, which is what I assume was done by design, but you finish 3rd. You're very, very quiet through that first green flag stint. After those pit stops, you restart 3rd. And that's actually where you end up finishing. So it kind of goes through that final stint there of the race.
On that last stop there, we only took 5 gallons of fuel to tighten the car up, so that way I could try to drive it through the corner harder than those guys could. But I'm pretty sure Anthony and Logan went with the same thing, and they were able to keep putting distance on me. And towards the last 5 laps or so of that run, it just started breaking loose on me on exit, and I just couldn't wheel it as well as those guys could. But good run for those guys. glad to have a top 3 after finishing 18th, and glad to only have 1 caution after after practice. Looked like it was going to be a lot more than that.
Right. Well, I talked about how the cars were rolling over in the center of 3 and 4. That was going to be problematic, but you guys, as the track tightened up, and as you guys adjust your driving style, you guys put on a heck of a show. More importantly, for your 3rd place finish tonight, with Wade Hustad having problems of his own, it's quite possible that you take the points lead over, even though you don't have as many wins. But, you could enter Pocono next week, a track that I know that you enjoy a lot. As our points leader here in the DRL Cup Series, what does that mean to you?
I wouldn't have thought I'd had the points lead at any point. It'll be nice to have it, but not sure where he finished and what kind of gap I had to overcome to get there. But it'll be nice to have it, and it'll be something to brag about for at least a week.
Sure. Yeah, he finished 15th. You finished 3rd. I can't confirm that it is true, but it's going to be close. So a good run by you, Thomas Harmon. Give us any shout-outs that you might have here, bud.
Shout out to you guys in the booth for putting on the broadcast for everybody. All the competitors come out and race every week. DRL admins, the race control, and shout out to S2R for having a good showing tonight. And overall in front of the car, and of course my spotter Dimitri.
All right, Thomas. Well, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish, and we'll see you next week at Pocono.
I'll be there. Have a good one, guys.
All right, that was Thomas Harmus finishing in 3rd. We're now speaking to our 2nd place finisher, Anthony Burrows. You have a copy, sir.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you start 2nd, you finish 2nd. You have the 4 wins in your back pocket, but of course I know you wanted to get that 5th here. What could you have done different on that final run to maybe pass, or at least catch and pass Logan for the win?
Not really sure. I feel like if me and Thomas got hooked up a bit better, I could have gotten by him. I'm not sure how long. I'm not sure how long I could have held off Logan if I got out in front though. But he was just way faster than all of us. Just everyone really had to work together to just get by him. We still couldn't. So P2 definitely not too upset with it though. I'll take it.
Well, we move on to Pocono next week. Assuming that you're here, what kind of speed do you have at Pocono, and do you have something where you could take that win?
I'm actually gonna miss the next 2 races, so I don't know though, but the Pocono would be fun though to race. The car does get pretty tight around others, pretty much opposite of how this race was. But yeah, I think that race would be pretty fun.
Awesome. Well, Anthony, since you're going to be on here the next 2 races, we wish you well, and once you come back, look forward to speaking to you again. Give us any shouts that you might have before we take off, bud.
Everyone at S2R working together with me this race. Good group of guys to work. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast as always, and thanks everyone for watching.
All right, Anthony. Well, we appreciate it, sir. You have a good couple weeks, and we will see you next time you're out on the track, bud.
Thanks, you too.
And now we will bring in our race winner, Logan McAnally. Logan, congratulations on your 3rd win here in the DRL Cup Series. Talking to a couple of the competitors, it seemed like you just had a little bit of an advantage tonight. At the beginning of the race, we saw you kind of sliding all over the place, but in the end, as the track tightened up and as you adjusted, you just had too much speed for everyone else. Take us through your race and, kind of what keys to what keys did you focus on to, get your 3rd win of the season?
Yeah, that was a very slick one. Had to really work the throttle and work the steering wheel along with the throttle. It was hard getting off of 4 every time. You saw me slide 3 or 4 times and have to catch it. It was all about throttle control and having to keep the thing straight off the corner.
Well, again, as the track changed and as you adapted to it, your speed, your strategy was great. You come out as the fastest car. You had the freshest tires of the leaders. Obviously that was by design, but as we move on to next week at Pocono, assuming that you'll be here, what kind of things can you bring to Pocono that could get you the same result as you got tonight?
I don't know. Last week, whenever Pocono got whatever happened, I really wasn't too quick, but I was trying to figure out stuff because I didn't run any official races last week, so
Sure.
I had no clue what was going on.
Well, hopefully you get it figured out. Pocono again being a makeup race from last week, but Logan, you come in here, you get your third race of the season. If you weren't already, you're certainly established now as a championship favorite, as you're tied for second in the league with 3 wins with Wade Hustad now, as we're starting to inch closer and closer to the playoffs here. So congratulations on your win, and while we have you, of course, give any shout-outs that you might have to the broadcast.
My buddy Austin on my team at Mac Motorsport, Nationwide family, just everybody that supports.
All right, Logan. Well, I appreciate the time, and congratulations on your win. And hopefully we see you next week at Pocono.
Thank you, sir. I'll be there.
All right, 10-4, buddy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our Michigan 200. As we pull up the results here, Logan led the most laps, so he will get an additional point for that. Anthony Burrows finishing second. Thomas Harmon finishing third. It is possible that he does take that points lead over. Again, that is not confirmed. That is just me trying to do quick math, which is always a dangerous thing. Running through the rest of the field here, we saw some guys try to stay out on fuel. That didn't quite work out for some of the gentlemen. Wade Hustad, our points leader, of course, had that trouble early on. And there you can see the rest of the finishing order there, with Alexander Russell rounding out the 23rd spot. Again, this was our points heading into tonight's race, and we will see how that unfolds later on. As we tune in next week for the Pocono 200, you'll get updated points, and you'll get to see very unique racing, as this is a super speedway at Pocono with 3 corners instead of 4 or 6 corners, depending on how you look at it. Is it a road course? Is it a super speedway? Is it a ROVAL? Who knows? But next week we will find out who is the fastest at getting around the tricky triangle. As always, these are the names that are involved in the Dynasty Racing League TV and the league administration and race control overall. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you tuning in tonight to our DRL TV broadcast of the Michigan 200. As always, I'm Getty Buckner with Martin Wenzel. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week at Pocono Raceway.